UEA. So as part of HIV and AIDS Awareness Week at UEA, we've decided to produce a video that demystifies myths and legends that surround HIV and AIDS in the current community. Whilst people typically consider HIV and AIDS to be a part of the foregone area in the 80s, it's actually something that's still an epidemic nowadays. An estimated 103,700 people are living with HIV in the UK. In 2014 alone, 613 people with HIV died. In the same time period, there were 6,151 new diagnoses of HIV. 2/5 of people diagnosed with HIV in 2014 were diagnosed late and after treatment that they should have already started. Out of those people that were diagnosed late, 61% of those were heterosexual men, 58% were black African, 52% were heterosexual women, 39% were black Caribbean, and 56% were older people aged 55 and over. But this does pose a question: what actually is HIV? HIV is known as human immunodeficiency virus and is when the body is infected with a series of cells that directly attack the white and red blood cells in the body. When an individual is infected with HIV, they find that common illnesses such as the cold and measles can lead to development of more serious ones, such as measles, the flu, and cancer. Due to this, individuals that are afflicted with these more common diseases find that leaving the house or being around individuals that are actually infected with these common illnesses is actually detrimental to their lifestyle and could potentially be life-threatening. Another issue surrounding HIV is that people tend to conflate HIV with AIDS, when in fact they are both incredibly different terms. When one is living with AIDS, they are actually living with a more serious version of HIV, which is due to the fact their CD4 count has dropped below 200. Due to this, they are more likely to develop conditions such as certain types of cancer and lung disease, which can seriously impact their lifestyle and also how long their lifespan is. But now that we've talked about what HIV actually is, it will make sense to actually talk about how it's contracted. So HIV is contracted through unprotected anal, oral, vaginal sex, but it can also be contracted through sharing needles or injecting drug use. Some people have the misconception that HIV can be contracted from skin-to-skin contact with those that are living with it, or by sharing bottles with them. That's actually an urban legend and not actually true. For HIV to be spreaded, it actually has to be passed on through blood-on-blood contact or through the transference of sexual fluids. It's not actually something that can be contracted just by touching someone that is living with it. Due to this though, it is important to bear in mind that you shouldn't actually stigmatise someone just because they're living with HIV. Your likelihood of contracting it from them is incredibly unlikely unless you engage in unprotected sex with them. And the way to avoid contracting HIV if you do decide to have sex with someone that is living with it is to ensure that you make use of a condom, as it will protect you against it. However, as well as condom usage, it is recommended by the NHS that you get tested for STIs after every sexual partner that you have. This is due to the fact that when you contract STIs, your likelihood of contracting HIV is increased. Whilst it is important to consider that HIV does affect MSM communities more than heterosexual ones, it is still important for heterosexual individuals to get tested for HIV because they are the most likely to be living with HIV without realising it. Because of this, knowing your status is so important, so going to your local gum clinic, doctors, or contracting 56 Dean Street in London for a home postal HIV testing kit is incredibly important. Thank you for listening to our brief coverage of myths and legends that are surrounding HIV awareness. We'd love it if you can take part in UEA's AIDS Awareness Week over the next week.